You are walking through life, aren't you? You, the man carrying burdens, navigating the modern world, often feeling alone, often feeling lost. And what do you seek? What is that deep, primal longing that whispers in the quiet moments, in the dead of night? You seek a harbor, a sanctuary, a soft place to land. You seek salvation. You seek completion. And where do you often look for this? Where has society, where have the very myths you grew up with told you to look? In her, in a woman. You believe deep down that she will save you, that she will complete you, that her love will finally fill that void, banish that loneliness, affirm your worth. But what if I told you that this belief, this deep-seated human longing, is precisely your greatest vulnerability? What if the very source you seek for salvation is, in fact, the greatest test of your being, your purpose, your very soul? What if she is not here to save you, but to test you? What if her love, her presence, is not an end to your struggle, but the ultimate crucible in which your masculine spirit will either be forged or utterly broken? This is the terrifying truth, the brutal reality that the great existential psychologist Rollo May tried to warn us about. He saw the core human dilemma, the profound struggle with anxiety, freedom, and the terrifying responsibility of existence itself. And while May didn't speak directly of modern gender dynamics, his insights are the key, the very skeleton upon which we can hang the flesh of understanding male-female relationships in the brutal, unvarnished truth. Rollo May understood anxiety. He understood that it's not just a fleeting emotion, not just a weakness to be medicated away. Anxiety, for May, is a fundamental existential aspect of being human. It arises from the confrontation with our freedom, with the vast, terrifying emptiness of choice, with the knowledge that we are ultimately alone in shaping our destiny. And you, the man, you carry this anxiety. You feel the weight of expectation, the pressure to perform, to provide, to protect. And what is your natural inclination when faced with such profound anxiety? To seek comfort, to seek relief, to seek an escape from the burden of your own freedom. And you look to her. You look to the woman. You see her perhaps as the antidote to your anxiety. You believe she will be the soft landing, the emotional anesthesia, the warm embrace that quiets the terrifying whispers of your own existence. You see her as salvation from your loneliness, from your burden of being. And this is where the profound misunderstanding begins, where the illusion takes root, and where your ultimate test truly commences. Because Rollo May would tell you, though he might not use these words, that when you seek salvation from an external source, especially from another human being, you are abdicating your own essential task. You are attempting to offload your existential burden onto someone else. And the woman, by her very nature, by her unconscious biological imperative, cannot and will not allow this. She will not save you from your anxiety. She will amplify it. She will not relieve you of your freedom. She will demand you own it, or she will expose your failure to do so. She will not complete you. She will expose your incompleteness, your desperate need, and in doing so, she will test you. She will test your strength. Not just physical strength, but the strength of your character, the strength of your conviction, the strength of your purpose. Does your purpose emanate from within you, a core, unshakable anchor? Or is it a fragile thing, dependent on her approval, her admiration, her presence? She will test this. She will observe. She will probe. She will test your boundaries. How firm are they? Are you a man who knows his worth, who holds his ground, who respects himself enough to say no, to walk away, to define his own space? Or are you a man who bends, who compromises, who sacrifices his own truth for the fleeting comfort of her smile, for the desperate hope of her approval? She will push, subtly at first, then less subtly, seeking the edges of your self-respect, testing the integrity of your personal fortress. And every time you crumble, every time you concede ground, every time you betray yourself for her, you fail the test. And she, unconsciously perhaps, registers this failure. She sees the weakness, and her respect, her primal attraction, begins to wane. Rollo May also spoke of the daimonic. He defined the daimonic as any natural function which has the power to take over the whole person. Sex is daimonic. Rage is daimonic. The drive for power is daimonic. And love, too, can be daimonic. And in the context of male-female dynamics, the daimonic operates on a terrifyingly primal level. For the man, his daimonic drive for connection, for validation, for the perceived salvation of a woman's love can become a force that consumes him, that blinds him to reality, that turns him into a psychological puppet. He becomes possessed by this need, and his will, his reason, his very purpose all become subservient to it. And for the woman, her daimonic operates on a different, yet equally potent level. Her unconscious drive for security, for protection, for high-status offspring, for a man who embodies strength and capability, is a daimonic force within her. And this force compels her to test, to probe, to ensure that the man she is with, or considering being with, is truly strong, truly capable, truly a man who can navigate the profound anxieties of existence without collapsing into a desperate need for her. Her tests are not malicious, not consciously cruel in many cases. They are biological. They are primal. They are the unconscious expression of her own daimonic need for a strong protector, a capable mate. You enter a relationship, perhaps, seeking comfort, seeking emotional stability. You want to drop your guard, to be vulnerable, to be saved by her nurturing presence. But she is not looking for a man to save. She is looking for a man who doesn't need saving. She is looking for a man who is saving, who is self-contained, who is a source of strength, not a void to be filled. And her natural, unconscious response to your seeking salvation, to your desperate need, is to test you further, to see if you will collapse under pressure, to see if your strength is real or merely a facade. Consider the comfort test. You seek comfort from her. You seek emotional regulation through her presence. You want her to make you feel good, to validate you, to soothe your anxieties. But her unconscious question is always, can this man handle his own discomfort? Can he face his own anxiety? Or will he crumble, becoming a burden, a child I must manage? So she will introduce discomfort. She will create friction. She will withhold affection, or express discontent, or simply be unavailable. And your reaction? Do you crumble? Do you become demanding, needy, desperate for her to restore your comfort? Or do you stand firm, maintaining your frame, understanding that your emotional state is your own responsibility, not hers to manage? This is a test, and every man fails it repeatedly until he understands the underlying dynamic. Rollo May spoke extensively about will, the capacity to organize oneself toward a goal, the power to choose, to shape one's destiny. And many men today, they have a fractured will. Their will is not aligned with their highest purpose, their authentic self. Instead, their will is enslaved to external validation, to the approval of others, and most powerfully, to the approval and affection of women. They become men who will themselves to achieve, to perform, to acquire, not for their own inherent purpose, but for the approval they believe it will buy them from her. This is a profound self-betrayal, a spiritual possession. And she, the woman, she will test your will. Is your will strong enough to pursue your purpose, even when it means making choices that might displease her, that might create temporary friction, that might not immediately serve her comfort? Or is your will pliable, bending to her desires, her whims, her subtle manipulations, becoming a psychological puppet dancing on her strings? She tests your commitment to your own path. She tests your ability to say no to distractions, even the most enticing ones. Because a man whose will is broken, a man whose purpose is easily derailed by external pressures, is not a man she can trust to navigate the profound anxieties of life, to protect her, to build a future. He is a weak link, and her biology demands strength. You see, the myth of the one who completes you, the fantasy of she will save me, is a deeply insidious poison. It robs you of your essential task, the task of confronting your own anxiety, of forging your own will, of finding your own purpose, of becoming a complete man before you seek a partner. Rollo May's message, when filtered through the lens of male-female dynamics, is a stark one. You must confront your own loneliness. You must embrace your own freedom. You must own your own responsibility for your life, for your emotional state, for your purpose. And if you do not, if you abdicate this responsibility and project your need for salvation onto her, she will, by her very nature, test you until you break. She will test your resolve when you face external challenges. Will you stand firm? Will you lead? Or will you look to her for answers, for courage, for permission? She will test your emotional resilience when you face internal struggles. Will you wallow in self-pity? Will you seek her to soothe your wounds? Or will you process your own emotions, regulate your own state, and emerge stronger? She will test your integrity when difficult choices arise. Will you compromise your principles for a peaceful life, for her comfort? Or will you stand by your truth even if it creates temporary discord? This isn't about blaming women. This isn't about seeing them as villains. This is about understanding the fundamental, often unconscious dynamics that govern male-female relationships. It's about understanding the primal tests that women, by virtue of their own biological and psychological hardwiring, impose upon men. They are seeking a man who can shoulder the burden of existence, a man who doesn't need to be saved, a man who is a source of strength, not a drain on it. And if you, the man, come to her seeking salvation, seeking completion, seeking an escape from your own existential angst, you are setting yourself up for profound disappointment and repeated failure. The man who truly understands Rollo May's insights and applies them to relationships realizes that his first and most important task is not to find a woman, but to find himself, to build his own internal fortress, to confront his own anxiety, to forge an unshakable will, to define a purpose that exists independently of external validation, especially from women. He becomes a man who is whole, not because he found a woman, but because he dared to face the terrifying loneliness of his own freedom and emerged with strength and purpose. And when you embody this, when you stop seeking salvation and start embodying strength, something profound shifts. Her tests don't disappear entirely, because testing is inherent to her nature, her unconscious quest for a strong mate. But your response changes. You no longer crumble. You no longer seek her validation. You meet her tests with equanimity, with understanding, and with an unshakable sense of self. You become a man who is not defined by her approval, but by his own integrity, his own purpose, his own strength. This is the path of true masculine individuation, the path that Rollo May, in his own way, illuminated. It is a path of terrifying freedom, for it means letting go of the comfortable illusion that someone else will bear your burdens. It is a path of profound responsibility, for it demands that you own your life, your emotions, your destiny. And it is a path of immense courage, for it means confronting the deepest anxieties of your own being, facing the profound truth that ultimately you are alone in the task of becoming. But in that terrifying loneliness, in that profound acceptance of your own burden, lies your greatest power. Because the man who understands that she will not save him, but only test him, is the man who stops looking outside himself for answers. He starts building answers within. He stops seeking validation and starts generating value. He stops being a psychological puppet and starts becoming the architect of his own existence. This truth is uncomfortable. It flies in the face of every romantic comedy, every song, every societal narrative that tells you to seek your other half. But the truth, the brutal truth, is never comfortable. It is liberating. It is empowering. And it is the only path to true masculine strength in a world designed to keep you weak, dependent, and seeking salvation from external sources. So, consider this. Rollo May's warning rings clearer than ever. She will not save you. She will test you. And your response to that test, your willingness to face it head-on, to become the man who needs no saving, will determine your destiny. It will determine your relationships. It will determine your legacy. If this message resonated with you, if you felt that deep, uncomfortable truth about the tests you face, if you're ready to stop seeking salvation and start forging your own strength. Don't just scroll away. Like this video, share it with other men who need to wake up, and subscribe to this channel for more brutal truths, more uncomfortable insights, and more pathways to understanding the authentic masculine journey in a world that desperately needs strong men. Your journey begins now.